high school.
October 28th, 2022, 12:04 in the afternoon. 300 people inside a church in Pittsburgh. A mother crying over her son's casket. The organ playing Amazing Grace. Prayers being whispered. Children sitting quietly with their families. Then gunfire. 20 shots in 90 seconds. 6 people bleeding on the church steps. Mothers throwing themselves over their babies inside. The elderly hiding behind wooden pews, hearts racing, hands shaking. A little girl running so fast, she leaves her white shoe behind on the floor. A casket abandoned at the altar as everyone runs for their lives. This is what happened when someone decided to shoot up a funeral. In a church, during a service, with 300 people inside. But here's what makes this even more heartbreaking. This wasn't random. This was revenge. Revenge for something that happened 13 days earlier. Something that killed 2 innocent women who had absolutely nothing to do with any of this. 2 women just trying to get home from work. 2 mothers. 2 families destroyed. And 13 days later, their killer's funeral became a war zone that traumatized an entire community. What kind of hatred makes someone shoot up a church? What happened 13 days before that turned holy ground into a crime scene? And why were 300 people left completely unprotected when police were supposed to be there? Before I tell you what started this nightmare, drop your location in the comments and hit subscribe. This story will change how you see gun violence forever. Betty and Jacqueline, the innocents. Let me take you back 13 days. October 15th, 2022, a Saturday night in Pittsburgh's North Side. Betty Jean Everett, 59 years old, stood at her usual bus stop outside a Sunoco gas station on Cedar Avenue. She just finished her shift. She was tired. Her feet hurt. She set down her purse and checked the bus schedule on the pole. 12 minutes until the number 54 bus arrived. She had 12 seconds left to live. Betty had worked hard her whole life. The kind of woman who never missed a shift, who always showed up, who raised 6 children and now had 11 grandchildren who loved spending weekends at her house. She made the best pancakes. She told the funniest stories. She was the glue that held her family together. That night, she was just trying to get home. Nearby, Jacqueline Mahalik, 33 years old, a mother rushing to her late shift at a manufacturing company. She glanced at her phone. She was running behind. Her 4 children were at home. 4 babies. The youngest was only 11 months old, then a 2-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old. She needed to get to work. She was thinking about 100 different things. Bills. Groceries. Her daughter's school project due Monday. Jacqueline was a fighter. A single mom working nights to provide for her babies. The kind of woman who sacrificed sleep so her kids could have new shoes. The kind of mother who packed lunches with little notes inside, saying, "Mommy loves you." She was exhausted, but she kept going because that's what mothers do. Neither woman knew that 2 groups of armed men were closing in on that exact spot. Neither woman cared about street beef or territory disputes. Neither woman had ever heard the names John Hornizes Jr. or the people involved in this gang conflict. They were just living, working, trying to get through another day.
Resulted in the deaths of 2 innocent bystanders. Both were mothers just trying to get home. KDK's Megan Schiller continues our team coverage now.
This is that bus shelter where those 2 innocent women were standing Saturday night. It's busy at all hours of the day, but now it's marked with this tape, just one of the bullet holes police found that night. Bullets started flying Saturday night through this busy North Side intersection. 2 innocent mothers were caught in the crossfire.
I think it was a very tragic incident, without a doubt. 2 innocent people standing here waiting on the bus to go home, from my understanding, and they get shot.
Bubba Thornton's lived on the North Side his whole life, and he knows the women sitting here this weekend didn't make it home.
It's kind of weird to be sitting here, without a doubt, where this tragic event occurred, without a doubt. But hey, you got to get to where you got to go, and you got to be a little braver sometimes than things that are happening around you.
Pittsburgh police identified the first victim as 33-year-old Jacqueline Mahalik. They rushed the mother of 4 to Allegheny General, but she didn't make it. And 59-year-old Betty Averett, a mother and grandmother known by many as Miss Betty, died at the bus stop. Police believe a fight started in the nearby gas station parking lot and shots rang out, with bullets flying between the gas station and a nearby park. The bus shelter sits right in the middle.
The surveillance camera at the Sunoco captured everything that happened next. 10:02 at night. Someone shouts across the parking lot. The audio is unclear, but witnesses later told police they heard, "What's up now?" followed by cursing and threats. Then chaos explodes. Gunfire for both sides. 23 shell casings will be found later. 2 different calibers. Multiple shooters firing at each other across Cedar Avenue. Bullets flying everywhere, but hitting everyone except their intended targets. Betty doesn't run. Maybe she freezes. Maybe her brain can't process what's happening until it's too late. She falls right there at her bus stop. The bus she'll never board. The home she'll never reach. Jacqueline is caught in the middle, walking between the shooters. Wrong place, wrong second, wrong everything. She goes down on the sidewalk. And John Hornizes Jr., 20 years old, one of the shooters, falls too. 3 people dying on Pittsburgh concrete. 3 families about to be destroyed forever. And for what? The ambulances arrive fast. Allegheny General Hospital is just 1 block away. It doesn't matter. All 3 are gone before they reach the emergency room. Betty's 11 grandchildren will grow up without her bedtime stories, without her pancakes on Sunday mornings, without the woman who held their family together. Jacqueline's 4 babies will wait at home that night, wondering why Mama never came back. The 11-month-old will never remember her mother's face. The 8-year-old will have to grow up too fast, helping raise the younger ones. Their grandmother Bridget will now raise them alone. And John's family will plan a funeral that becomes a nightmare. Because on these streets, every death demands an answer. Every killing requires revenge. The arrests and the threats. The beef started over something nobody can quite explain. Maybe territory, maybe a girl, maybe disrespect. The usual triggers that normally end with words, maybe a fist fight. But text messages recovered later showed things getting worse and worse. Threats traded back and forth. Locations shared. Screenshots of deleted Instagram stories. Someone mentioned the Sunoco on Cedar Avenue. Someone else said they'd handle it. After the shooting, arrests came quickly. The community cooperated in ways police had never seen before. Dozens of tips. Witnesses coming forward. Video evidence shared freely. Maybe because Betty and Jacqueline weren't targets. Maybe because killing grandmothers and mothers crosses a line even street code won't defend. October 17th, Jalon Hines arrested at the hospital, still recovering from his leg wound. He knew what he'd done. He knew 2 innocent women were dead because of a beef that had nothing to do with them. October 18th, U.S. Marshals find Sharon Troutman hiding out. Ballistics matches gun to bullets that killed John Hornizes Jr. The evidence is overwhelming. His fingerprints, his DNA, his digital footprint showing him at the scene. Police identify 5 total shooters involved in the gun battle. But arrests don't stop what's coming. Because on Pittsburgh's north side, justice and revenge were the same face. And the threats start immediately. Text messages to John's family. Social media posts that get deleted fast. Words whispered on street corners. Pictures of guns posted online with words like "We coming" and "RIP," but not "rest in peace." The message is clear, crystal clear. John Hornizes Jr.'s funeral won't be peaceful. The Hornizes family hears the threats. They're terrified. They know what happens in this cycle. They've seen it before. They've attended funerals that turned violent. They've buried friends who died for nothing. One death leads to another, leads to another. It never stops. So they do what any scared family would do. They ask for help. If this story is hitting you hard, hit that like button right now. What happens next proves that even when you do everything right, the system can still fail you. The fatal mistake. October 26th, the Hornizes family formally requests police protection for the funeral service at Destiny of Faith Church on Brighton Road. Pittsburgh Public Safety approves it. 2 officers will be assigned. Standard procedure for high-risk funerals in neighborhoods where violence spills over. The family breathes a little easier. They'll be safe. The police will be there. Nothing bad can happen at a church with police protection, right? October 28th arrives, the day they'll bury John. 2 officers receive their assignment that morning. Funeral protection detail. Simple enough. Show up. Be visible. Keep the peace. They've done this before. Standard procedure. But somewhere between the dispatch center and those officers, something goes terribly, horribly wrong. The address they're given is wrong. Not slightly wrong. 3 blocks wrong. Someone typed the wrong street number into the system. Someone didn't double check. Someone assumed it would be fine. The officers arrive at a funeral home on Brighton Road. They park outside. They wait. Empty parking lot. No activity. No hearse pulling up. No mourning será ivig. Nothing. They radio dispatch. No clarification comes back. They check their paperwork. This is the address they were given. So they wait longer. Maybe the funeral is running late. Maybe the family changed plans. Eventually, confused and seeing no signs of any funeral happening, they leave. Job done, they think. Nothing happened. Quiet day. Report filed. Meanwhile, 3 blocks away, mourners begin arriving at Destiny of Faith Church. Cars fill the parking lot. Family members in black clothing embrace on the sidewalk. Tears already flowing. Friends who haven't seen each other in years reunite under horrible circumstances. Old women from the neighborhood bring food, because that's what you do. You feed the grieving. The hearse arrives at 10 in the morning, carrying John's body. His mother, Tamika, steps out of the family car, barely able to stand. This is every parent's nightmare. Burying your child, your baby, 20 years old. Paige Davis, John's godmother, steps out of her car and looks around. Her stomach drops. Something feels wrong. Where are the police? She asks family members. Nobody knows. Maybe they're inside. Maybe they're in unmarked cars. Maybe they're coming later. But deep down, she knows. She feels it. That sick feeling when you realize you're not protected. When you realize you're vulnerable. Inside the church, the calm before. 11 o'clock. 300 mourners fill the church. Every pew packed. Standing room only in the back. The heat from all those bodies makes the air thick and heavy. The organ plays Amazing Grace. That song that's been sung at funerals for generations. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. The irony isn't lost on anyone. John was lost. Lost to violence. Lost to the streets. Lost to a cycle that keeps taking young black men before they reach their potential. People share memories of John. His aunt talks about how he loved basketball. His cousin remembers how he always made people laugh. His mother can barely speak through her tears. She talks about his smile, his dreams, the future he'll never have. The service is beautiful, painful, but beautiful. People are crying, hugging, supporting each other the way communities do when tragedy strikes. Outside, nobody notices the cars pulling up slowly. Nobody sees the figures getting out, faces covered with masks. Nobody realizes that while they're inside mourning one victim of gun violence, they're about to become victims themselves. The protection never came. The officers never arrived.
Yeah, that's right, Lisa. Multiple family members here outside the hospital were telling me this afternoon that police officers were supposed to be at that funeral, but they say no one ever showed up. Now, I did speak with a law enforcement source just a short time ago. They confirmed that 2 Pittsburgh police officers were assigned to that detail. But those officers at the very last minute were pulled for another assignment. After completing that other assignment, those officers planned to return to the funeral, and that's when the shots were fired and the shooting broke out. Again, my source telling me it's not normal procedure for Pittsburgh police officers to attend these funerals, but they suspect there was somebody anticipating possible trouble at that site, and that's why those officers may have been requested in the first place. Again, those officers pulled for another assignment, and then they were going back to the church, and when they were on their way back, the shooting.
300 people completely unguarded in a church that's about to become a battlefield. 12:04 in the afternoon. In exactly 60 seconds, everything will explode. Bullets in the house of God. The first shot cracks through the air. Inside the church, everyone freezes. Was that a car backfiring? Someone dropping something heavy? Then comes a second shot. The third. Then the sound that no one should ever hear in a house of God. Automatic fire. 20 shots in rapid succession. Boom, 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 boom. No pause. No mercy. No regard for the sacred ground they are violating. Shot spotter technology will later confirm the gunfire. Police will know within seconds that shots were fired, but by then, it's already too late. Outside, 6 people fall on the church steps. Steps where minutes ago people hugged and shared memories. Steps where children ran and played during church picnics. Now covered in blood. An older man who came to pay respects. Shot. A young woman, a friend of the family. Shot. A teenager catches a bullet in his leg, screaming in pain. A mother is grazed across her shoulder, blood soaking through her dress. One man in critical condition, bleeding from his chest. Police will have to render first aid right there on holy ground. Even the horse pulling the casket gets hit. A beautiful animal, just doing its job, caught in senseless violence. Inside the church, pure panic. Bodies hit the floor, but this time not from prayer, from fear, from survival instinct kicking in. Mothers throw themselves over their children, covering them with their own bodies, willing to die if it means their babies live. The elderly crouch behind wooden pews, hands shaking, hearts racing, praying harder than they've ever prayed. Some wondering if their hearts can survive this kind of terror. Young men who know this life, who've heard gunfire before, who've lost friends to violence, they know what to do. They grab grandmothers and pull them down. They shield the vulnerable. They become protectors in a moment when protection should have been guaranteed. The pastor's voice breaks with terror over the microphone. Get down. Everyone down. Stay low. The video from inside the church shows chaos that will haunt Pittsburgh forever. John's casket abandoned at the altar. The funeral they came to have, interrupted by the same violence that killed him. The same senseless brutality that took his life, now threatening everyone who loved him. Funeral programs scattered across the floor like confetti at the world's worst party. Flowers knocked over, vases shattered, and then there's the image that will become the symbol of this tragedy. A little girl's white shoe, left behind on the floor as families stampede for exits. One tiny white dress shoe, small enough to fit in your hand. The kind mothers buy for church on Sunday. The kind little girls were to feel pretty. That shoe will appear in every news report. It becomes the symbol of innocence destroyed, of childhood trauma, of a generation of children who will never feel safe anywhere. People are screaming, crying, praying out loud. Some are calling 911 with shaking fingers. Others are calling family members, saying goodbye, just in case these are their final moments, just in case they don't make it out. A grandmother has a heart attack from the stress. She survives, but she'll never be the same. The trauma will follow her forever. Every loud noise will send her into panic. 90 seconds. That's how long the shooting lasts. 90 seconds to violate everything sacred. 90 seconds to prove that nowhere is safe. Not your bus stop. Not your walk to work. Not even church. Not even a funeral. Not even when you're saying goodbye to someone you love. Then silence. Terrible. Ringing. Silence. The kind of silence that screams. Then sirens. Finally. Too late. But finally. The aftermath. Police arrived to a scene they were supposed to prevent. A scene that happened because someone wrote down the wrong address. Because someone didn't double check. Because in a city where violence is normal, protecting a funeral didn't seem urgent enough. 6 people wounded outside. One fighting for his life with a chest wound. Paramedics rushing. Blood on sacred ground. Shell casings scattered like deadly confetti. Inside, 300 traumatized mourners who came to bury one victim of gun violence and almost joined him. 300 people who will never be the same. Who will need therapy. Who will have nightmares. Who will struggle to feel safe anywhere. Children who saw things children should never see. Who learned too early that death doesn't just come quietly. That violence can find you even in God's house. Mothers who threw themselves over their babies, now holding them tight. Rocking them. Whispering, "We're okay. We're okay." Even though they're not sure if that's true. And John's mother, Tamika, collapsing completely. She couldn't even bury her son in peace. Even in death, he couldn't escape the violence. Even his funeral became a crime scene. The image that will define this tragedy plays on every news channel. Uniformed officers, finally there, carrying John Hornizes Jr.'s casket to the hearse. The funeral he couldn't have in peace. The goodbye his family couldn't say safely. The protection that came 3 blocks too late. They finished the burial at the cemetery under heavy police presence. No music, no ceremony, just a quick prayer and lowering the casket into the ground. The funeral John deserved, stolen by violence. His final goodbye ruined by the same streets that took his life. This is what the cycle does. It doesn't just kill, it destroys everything. Even death, even mourning, even sacred moments. 2 hours after the shooting, police arrest Sean Davis, 19 years old, from McKees Rocks. Witnesses identified him. His gun matched shell casings. His social media posts showed his intent. He wasn't even trying to hide. By evening, Hezekiah Nixon, just 16 years old, joins him in custody. 16, a child, old enough to hold a gun, but not old enough to vote. Not old enough to buy cigarettes. Not old enough to understand that this decision will cost him his entire life. Both face attempted homicide charges, multiple counts, criminal conspiracy, aggravated assault, firearms violations, even animal cruelty for shooting the horse. They'll likely die in prison, their lives over before they really began. The gun Nixon used was stolen from Shaler Township. After the shooting, he threw it off the McKees Rocks Bridge into the river. Police river rescue teams recovered it days later. It still had a bullet in the chamber, ready to kill again. The investigation reveals what everyone already knows. This was retaliation for October 15th, which was retaliation for something before that, which was retaliation for something before that. If you trace it back far enough, nobody can tell you what started it. Nobody remembers the original offense. A cycle spinning so fast, nobody remembers who started it. Nobody can explain what the original beef was even about. Territory that doesn't belong to anyone. Respect that bullets can't earn. Pride that costs lives. Drop a comment right now. What could have stopped this? Should the police officers who went to the wrong address be held accountable? Share this video because these stories need to be told. People need to understand what's really happening. The mother's plea. Through tears that will never fully dry, the mothers speak. Laura Averitt, Betty's daughter, stands in front of news cameras. Her voice is shaking but determined. She holds a photo of her mother. Betty smiling. Betty alive. Betty before a bullet took her while she waited for a bus. Please lay down your arms, Laura begs. Her voice breaking. It harms the city. It harms the world. It hurts. You don't know who you're hurting. My mother wasn't in the streets. She was just trying to get home from work. Just trying to live her life. Bridget Mahalik, Jacqueline's mother, now raising 4 grandchildren alone, says what every grieving parent thinks. Her children will still live their lives without her. But it won't be the same. They'll grow up without their mother. They'll graduate without her there cheering. They'll get married without her help picking the dress. They'll have babies she'll never meet. The 11-month-old will never remember what her mother's voice sounded like. All because someone couldn't resolve their problems without guns. The pain in these mothers' voices is unbearable. They're angry. They're heartbroken. They're desperate for someone, anyone, to hear them and choose differently. In 2025, 3 years later, Tamika Hornizes testified in court during proceedings. She called losing her son the most traumatizing experience of my life. She couldn't even bury him in peace. His funeral became a crime scene. Violence followed him even into death. Mayor Ed Gainey keeps appearing at crime scenes. He makes speeches about ending violence, about coming together, about protecting our communities. I never could have imagined it, he said after the funeral shooting, that we would shoot up holy ground. He pleaded for no retaliation. We don't want that. We want you alive. If you know something, come forward. But the streets have their own momentum, their own laws, their own terrible logic where shooting up a funeral makes sense to someone somewhere. The memorial and the lesson. Today, if you visit the corner of Cedar and Stockton, you'll find a memorial. Flowers for Betty Averitt, still fresh because neighbors replace them weekly. Photos of Jacqueline Mahalik smiling, alive, beautiful before someone decided violence was the answer. Candles that neighbors keep lit every single night. Stuffed animals. Notes from strangers saying, "This has to stop." The memorial has become a gathering place. A reminder. A warning. 2 innocent women dead. 6 people wounded at a funeral. Young men dead or in prison. Families destroyed forever. A community traumatized. Children who witnessed horror. Elders who don't feel safe leaving their homes. And for what? Listen, I need you to really hear this next part. Betty was waiting for a bus, just trying to get home after a long shift. A grandmother who made the best pancakes and told the funniest stories. Jacqueline was walking to work, just trying to provide for her 4 babies. A mother who packed lunches with love notes that said, "Mommy loves you." They died for nothing. Nothing except being in the wrong place when men decided to solve problems with bullets instead of words. And 13 days later, 300 people trying to mourn almost joined them. Not on a street corner, but on church steps. During a funeral that police were supposed to protect, but never showed up to guard because someone wrote down the wrong address. This is the cost of the cycle. This is what happens when every death demands another death. When funerals become targets. When churches become crime scenes. When children become killers before they become adults. Until someone somewhere finally breaks the chain. The killing continues. The question is, who will be brave enough to say enough? Who will be strong enough to walk away? Who will choose life over revenge? Who will decide that their pride isn't worth another mother's tears? These weren't just statistics on the evening news. Betty was a grandmother who told bedtime stories. Jacqueline was a mother who worked nights so her kids could have better. John was a 20-year-old still figuring out life, still learning, still growing. They all deserve better. We all deserve better. The cycle will only end when we decide it ends. When we choose healing over hurting. When we value life more than reputation. When we understand that every bullet fired creates more victims than we can count. If this video impacted you, if these stories open your eyes to what's really happening, I need you to share this. Hit that share button. Send it to someone who needs to see it. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Let's start a conversation that might save a life. Rest in peace to Betty Jean Averitt. Rest in peace to Jacqueline Mahalik. Rest in peace to John Hornizes Jr. May their deaths not be in vain. May we learn from this tragedy. May we finally choose peace over violence, life over revenge, love over hate. Because if we don't, the cycle will never end. And more grandmothers will die at bus stops. More mothers will never come home to their babies. More children will lose their white shoes running from gunfire in churches. And that's not the world any of us want to live in. The choice is ours. The power to change is ours. The responsibility to break the cycle is ours. What will we choose?